Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Baz and Jean-Jacques from the Stranglers. Gentlemen, thank you very much for giving us some of your time today. Just saw your set on the main stage, which was phenomenal and very emotional, actually. And I think you guys seem to be enjoying yourselves as well. Would I be right? Yeah. You have microphones there, sorry.
It was great.
And
Bonjour tout le monde. Bonjour, bonjour.
So this year, 40th anniversary tour, how has it been going?
It's been going really well.
And it's Baz's 14th anniversary, is that right? You joined in 2000?
Yeah. I had hair in a waistline when I joined the Stranglers.
Yeah.
It's been a tremendous journey.
Because your band actually supported the guys in the mid-90s. Was that how
That's
you became
how I met
friends?
the Stranglers, yeah.
Okay.
God, 1995, I think it was.
Okay.
And then we toured with them again in 97 in Europe.
Yeah.
And then in 2000 they rang me and said, would you play in the band? I said, fuck off, I'm not playing with you, lad. But it's been fabulous. It's like I've always been here. I like to think so anyway. So.
Yeah. And like Norfolk Coast was quite a renaissance of sorts, or did extraordinarily well. And was that due to Baz's joining the band, Jean-Jacques?
No. But the record was.
Okay, but 40 years, unbelievably. Take us back to how the band came together and what the scene in the UK was like at the time.
Well, let this be a warning to you. I was preparing, I've got three passions which I've maintained since I was a teenager. Motorcycles, martial arts, music. Oh, and marijuana and masturbation. So the five M's. The five M's. Sorry. I usually only, because this is a family audience, so I should just say three M's. The three M's. And I was coming back from a karate class, and I was planning to go to Japan, which I have since I go to regularly. But at the time, I had a van driving job, and I stopped to pick up a hitchhiker. So the first thing you should remember is never pick up a hitchhiker, because the hitchhiker happened to be an American Vietnam draft dodger who had gone to Sweden, joined a band in Sweden, which Hugh Cornwell was in the band, and they decided to seek their fortune in England. And so I gave a lift to this guy, and in those days, everyone had long hair, except me, because I was Mr. Kung Fu. So I had really short hair. And in fact, sometimes you'd go into a pub with the DMs and short hair, and they took you for either a squaddy or a cop, you know. So I stopped to give this guy a lift. I dropped him off at this off-licence in a place called Guildford in Surrey. And he said, come on in. And he introduced me to the rest of his band, which included a guy called Jet Black. And... who's unfortunately not with us today, but he's still a member of the band, and Hugh, and a couple of Swedish guys. So I didn't think any more of it. I met the guy, said thank you, and he thanked me for giving me a lift. And 2 weeks later, I must have given my address. I had a bedsit, and I was saving my money, so I never went out, and I was just playing guitar. And 2 weeks later, this guy knocked on the door, and it was Hugh Cornwell, and he said... he looked very despondent. He said, my band have all fucked off back to Sweden, leaving me with this fat fucker, Jet Black, who's a drummer, who's a good drummer. So I said, and he saw I was playing guitar, so we got a bit stoned that evening, as you used to do in those days. And he said, look, let's start a band together. So I said, yeah, but I've only got 6 months because I have to go to Japan. So that's how we started. That's how the Stranglers started.
And was Jet, he ran an off-licence at the time, didn't he?
He did, but we drank it dry. And it went bust.
Okay.
No kidding.
Did he also have some ice cream vans? Is that right?
He was an entrepreneur of ice cream.
Okay.
Yes.
And is it true he kept one ice cream van and it was your tour bus for the first couple of years?
For 3 years, the ice cream van was our tour bus. We slept in it. And occasionally, Hugh and I would go out and sell ice cream from it as well. Okay.
Double jobbing. Very a great idea. And like you supported the Ramones and Patti Smith on their first British tours. Did you see yourselves as part of the punk movement? Because obviously you were quite different in that, you could all play your instruments for one. Did you identify with your contemporaries, or did you?
Well, the early days of very early 1976, we were starting to get regular gigs in pubs around the London area. And one night, our manager, who'd been involved with Malcolm McLaren with the New York Dolls, he introduced us to two blokes and a girl. The girl was Chrissie Hynde, and the guys were Steve and Paul from the Sex Pistols. And the first thing that Steve said to me was, "I like your haircut," which was kind of, and the girl said, "I'm going to be your new lead singer." Chrissie Hynde said that. And this was about February 1976. And then Paul, the drummer, said, "We're going to be famous in 4 months' time." And sure enough, they were. And we didn't really identify with that at the time. I did. The rest of the band thought we didn't quite identify with it. But there was a huge change going on. People were coming in to see us. They had shorter and shorter hair. And the jeans were getting tighter and tighter. There were no more flares, more DMs. And people were starting to colour their hair green, and girls were starting to wear mini skirts and fishnets, stockings, and high heels. So there was a sort of a fashion change going on, and there was also an attitudinal change going on at the time. And then we were what fucked it up for us and all the other bands, because we were quite friendly with Joe Strummer. He was in a rhythm and blues band. Was that we were chosen above all the other bands to support the Ramones in London. And there was a band called The Clash, just started out at the time. And Paul, the bass player, Paul Simonon, he had this nervous tic. He used to go, and we had just played with the Ramones, and I'd never drank in those days. But one of our friends had given me a half a litre of wine to drink and said, "Go on, drink it in one go." So I did, and we were just snaking out of the venue, one of the two venues we played with the Ramones, and Paul and Steve from the Sex Pistols were drinking together. They had their pints there, and Paul Simonon just did that just as I walked past, so I hit him. And cut a long story short, we had a huge punch-up in the courtyard, and there was one side of the courtyard was the Stranglers and a few friends, and the other side of the courtyard, Sex Pistols, Clash, the Ramones, Chrissie Hynde, and quite a few enemy journalists. And it was handbags that, it was nothing happened. You apologise. No, you apologise. You apologise. No, you got it. It's your fault. You started. So that, and then since then, that created a huge polarisation. Are you saying in English? Yeah, polarisation. Yeah. How do you say in Irish?
My Irish is good enough.
Gotcha. Polarisation. And that created a big divide between us and people who we'd been hanging about with and slightly friendly with for a while, and that.
Right, okay.
We were the enemy after that.
Oh, and you mentioned there were some journalists at that wrangle. Did you once famously gaffer tape a journalist to the Eiffel Tower? Is that story true?
Yeah, but he deserved it.
What did he do? What did he do?
He was just a pain in the ass.
Okay, so I should think about my next question very carefully then.
Yes, please.
One thing actually from looking at your website, you wrote beautifully about Robin Williams, who you knew. Maybe just tell us about your favourite memory of Robin.
He was exactly as it says on the packet. I think that's the expression. He was. I met him through. I had a girlfriend who was a ballerina at the Paris Opera at the time. Mm. And she had met him in Los Angeles, I don't know how. And when we started a tour, a US tour in San Francisco, he invited me to, he had a ranch in the Napa Valley, in the vineyards there. That's the big winemaking area of California. And he invited me to his ranch, so he was really affable. And the interesting thing was with him was he had multiple kind of characters he lived through all the time. So he took us out to a restaurant, and already he was starting to be famous then. He'd just done Mork and Mindy and Popeye.
Right. Okay.
And so everyone in the restaurant in America, they're kind of very ebullient and everything. And he could see we were a bit uncomfortable because we just wanted to sit down and eat because after all, I'm French, So he kind of diverted the attention from us, from his guests, and he entertained everyone for about 15 minutes, being about multiple personalities,
Yeah.
Then he came to England, and at the time he was trying to detox because he had a few issues, with Class A. I met him at Heathrow, and we took him to Jet's house because we were rehearsing for an album called Feline. And he spent a week with us there, and every evening we'd go to the pub, and every evening we just sat there gobsmacked because the guy would entertain. He'd be all these different people having conversations with himself, and it was fascinating. And then I took him to my house at the time, and we spent about 10 days together. At that time.
Yeah.
And no, he was exactly as you see him, and I think probably such a sensitive human being.
Yeah.
They probably couldn't handle what was happening to him. I mean, in the States, when you divorce, you lose an awful lot of your assets.
Yeah.
And I think he was on his third marriage.
Right. Yeah.
So I think he'd given up a lot of stuff and done a lot of movies that he probably didn't want to do.
Yeah. Sure.
Anyway, I don't know why.
Yeah, but you wrote beautifully, and I was just going back to the set because it was so emotional. Like when when you started into Peaches, everyone just explodes, and like that song means so much to so many different people. How does it feel when you see people reacting, and to yourself, Baz, as well? Like when you see people reacting to those songs.
I think people like that song because it's got the word clitoris in it. And it's something you can't quite put isn't it, really?
Right.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I couldn't.
That was an
I've been
open
sitting here
goal,
for
an
so
open
long
goal.
thinking of something witty to say, For me, it's an honour and a privilege, but also it feels like I've always been here.
Yeah.
Because right from the start, we've always got on very well. When I joined the band, there was 5 of us.
Yeah.
And I replaced a guitar player, and so for the first sort of 6 years of the band, I stood at the side and played guitar, and sang backing vocals. And then when he left, we decided to have a go with just the 4. In actual fact, what happened was he was distancing himself further and further away from us.
Yeah.
And so he became frequently late for rehearsals and stuff like that. And of course, we wouldn't wait for him. I mean, we got to start without him. And I'd be singing the songs, and JJ would be singing the songs, and then you'd look through the window and see his car pull up and go, "Oh fuck, he's here." We're going to have to go back to the thing. And the vibe dropped, and I don't want to badmouth the guy because he was a good guy and a friend, but it didn't. It just wasn't happening. So, I mean, we've been this way now for about 8 years, and we've done we've done hundreds and hundreds of shows. And to me, it just feels like I've always been here, and this is the way that it's always been.
Yeah.
And it's nice to mix the old with the new, and not just do, because this ain't a nostalgia trip. We're not doing it for that.
Yeah.
We've still got lots of things to say. We've still got plenty. I mean, we're going to start rehearsing for a new album in the next 2 or 3 months.
Will there be a follow-up to Giants soon?
Yeah, we're hoping so.
Great.
That's the plan.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and I enjoy it immensely. We all still enjoy it, and I think when we do a set like we've done today, as well as play, I mean, because obviously, you haven't all come to see us. It would be lovely if you had, but you haven't. So we have
Everyone
to put...
is here for you. Yeah.
Oh, bless you.
Yeah.
That tenner's in the post, mate. All right. We have to mix it up, but as well as, making sure that because there are songs that we need to play.
Yeah.
Everybody's aware of that. But we have to please ourselves as well. Otherwise, what the hell's the point in doing it? We're not just going out and doing it for the buck.
Yeah.
Because that's pants. That's just rubbish. We're a band, and we've always been a band, and they've always been a band, and now, it's a way of life. It's not just a group. That sounds really corny and a cliche, but often cliches are true, aren't they? So,
yes, absolutely, for a reason.
So we today, I mean, for example, we did 2 or 3 new numbers. They slot right in with the old stuff. It's a body of work,
Sure, yeah.
And that's all I'm going to say about that.
So when can we expect the follow-up then? Next year, maybe?
Probably about 2025.
We can't wait that long.
I really don't know. We have a certain way of working with it and doing it and stuff. Deconstructing ideas.
Okay.
Jay's got lots, I've got lots. We get together, we drink an awful lot of wine. We play acoustic guitars and we just start hammering it out. And through that, it begins to develop. And then Dave Greenfield comes with his incredible keyboard skills, and of course it sounds like the Stranglers.
And his impressive ability to play keyboards and drink at the same time.
Then
throw it to you, who impressively heads it to Jean-Jacques. Did you work on that as well?
No. I'm from Sunderland. I've got football in my veins. You know what I mean?
Okay.
However, what you don't see is when he throws the thing, there's always a bit of brandy goes in my eye. I don't know why. You know.
Yeah, it is a litre of brandy and coke, ladies and gentlemen.
Wow.
So sometimes by the end of No More Heroes, if that's the last song, his arpeggios are jazzy.
Okay.
And in actual fact, he's cut it down because he used to drink too.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I've been told that the guys need to go, but please give it up for the Stranglers.
Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.